Hey everybody, welcome to the Morning Report. I'm your host, Tate, and today we're going to be looking at the LKCU, something that I've talked about before, just a little bit here and there, but we're going to be deep diving in it a bit more on this podcast episode. If you want to see these right when they come out, then be sure to hit that subscribe button with notifications on, because you most likely won't see these podcast episodes or my wonderful videos that I've been putting out if you aren't subscribed. Also, be sure to like the video, check out my playlist for my other Morning Report episodes. I know at least like 2 of them aren't like super relevant, so if you want to skip like the first 2, plus especially the first one, it's kind of hard to get through. I debated about getting a program even that would cut out the uhs and ums, and seriously, I kid you not, there are about like 300 uhs and ums in that first episode. Please don't watch it. I guess if you want to see how far I've come, then maybe you could watch it, but I don't know why you would. Just don't watch it. You can I definitely recommend watching my last one. That was a good one. The new Lion King expansion at Disneyland in Paris, and of course the opportunity of 2D animation coming back. That was exciting. So if you haven't listened to that one, or if you only listen to it partway through, then go finish it and then you come back to this one. And yeah, the way that these are supposed to be is that you just kind of do something else in the background, and well, I guess have this in the background and then just do something else and be productive, because that's how podcasts are supposed to be. These are about 30 minutes long. I only have them like once every couple months, but that's going to be fixed. I wanted to have it every week. I don't know if that's really substantial. Well, I mean, it's not super substantial. I don't know if that's sustainable for me to do, but I do have a podcast coming out next week. I'm gonna have a special guest on. We're gonna be discussing live action, just I'm not gonna give away live action IPs, and just the way that they're different from their original ones. So definitely be sure to tune in next Friday. I try to have these go live every Friday, 11 a.m. PST. So yeah, just there's a schedule. Of course, I think the goal is to maybe have these every other week, but I don't know. But of course, today's topic, we're just gonna fill the entirety of today's podcast episode. Also, if you hear a little bit of a noise or whatever, it's me. I'm holding my microphone. I'm in a different location, so if you also hear some people in the background, I don't think you should be able to hear anybody in the background, but if you do, I'm just in a new location, and everything is fine and dandy. And the reason why I'm able to get this out to you today on this wonderful Friday, happy Friday, everybody. If you're not watching this on Friday, then I don't know, you get to look forward to next Friday or something. The next Friday that I'm going to be having my special guest on, so definitely subscribe for that. But yeah, what I'm going to be discussing the entire time, the LKCU, or the Lion King timeline. I originally did like a little while back. I don't know if it was on this channel or my original channel. I was originally going to call it the TLKCU, because everybody shortens the Lion King and the Lion Guard and all that with TLK, because it's the Lion King. But nobody ever says, oh yeah, let's look at TLKCU. People say, let's look at the blank CU, like the MCU. Which also, did you know that there's going to be a Mattel cinematic universe? Yeah, there's going to be, with all the different toys that Mattel puts out, like Barbie and such, they're going to have a cinematic universe for all the different toys there, which is super weird. I did a video on that on a different channel. I'll try to remember to put that video in the description or in a pinned comment. If I forget to do that, then just yell at me in the comments. But yeah, that's super weird. The MCU is either the or there's 3 MCUs. I just realized there's of course the Marvel Cinematic Universe. That's what it's that's what kind of started this whole like cinematic universe type thing. And then there's the Mattel Cinematic Universe, which is still coming. They talked about it back when Barbie came out like 2 years ago. I don't know if they've really done anything with that anymore. I don't think there's really any other movies. That I just saw the Transformers 1 movie, which that's a good movie right there. Highly recommend that one. That's a great movie, especially as a newbie Transformer guy like myself. I haven't watched like any other Transformer movies except for like the Rise of the Beast one. But other than that, I hadn't seen any others, so it was a great introduction into that world for me. But you didn't come here to talk about Transformers. You came here to talk about The Lion King. So it's the LKCU, okay? It's the LKCU, the Lion King Cinematic Universe. It's not the TLKCU, because that would be the Lion King Cinematic Universe. So it's not that. And people wonder, what's included with the LKCU? Is it just the animated timeline? My favorite, of course. I'm sure you guys know it's probably my favorite. I have been talking about Mufasa a lot, and I will continue to talk about Mufasa as long as it's still somewhat relevant. And yeah, there are some people who are like, please Disney, make another live action Lion King. But I think they should go back to the 2D animated Lion King, because that's Mufasa. We talked about last podcast episode that Mufasa did really well, especially on like Disney Plus afterwards or digital streaming. It did really well after that, and it didn't do horribly in the theater, but it didn't do wonderfully either. But I think with Lilo and Stitch, the Lilo and Stitch live action, that did so well. It already got a sequel announced, and people are calling for Simba's Pride, or the second installment of the Lion King to be made into live action. I don't think they would do that, because I feel like they would want to maybe move past their past. Frankly, it seems they're kind of not ashamed of Simba's Pride, but they definitely do hide it a decent amount, right? Like we saw with the DVD pack on Amazon. If you go look up Lion King DVD set or whatever, it's gonna have the Lion King 2019, the Lion King 1994, of course, and it's gonna have Mufasa, and that's it. It's not gonna have Simba's Pride, and partially it is due to Simba's Pride being lower quality, of course. They had the B team work on Simba's Pride, and it's a direct-to-DVD sequel, so it's not gonna be up to the theater standards. But they've got so many great upscaling tools these days. Why don't they go in and upscale Simba's Pride for like a new Blu-ray or DVD or whatever? It's because maybe they are possibly looking to do a live action, but because the Lilo and Stitch movie, which just released not too long ago, has already gotten announced for a sequel. It was just announced like a week ago, a little over a week ago, I think, as of releasing this. Disney is announced that they're going to be making a Lilo and Stitch 2 for live action. And it seems like it might be going in a different direction than, I think there was a sequel. There was an animated sequel to Lilo and Stitch. I'm pretty sure I saw that. I thought it was pretty good. I don't plan on seeing the live action Lilo and Stitch, but I saw that I did hear from my sister actually that the Lilo and Stitch live action ended differently than the original Lilo and Stitch. And so how are they going to go about that? How are they going to go about creating the sequel to that? Are they going to just, once again, kind of not completely, but mostly rip off of the animated sequel? I don't know. So we'll just have to wait and see with that. And of course, so people were calling for the Simba's Pride to be made into live action again. But I don't see, it's been too long since Mufasa's release. It did do decently, but I feel like the novelty wore off with the Lion King 2019. It did so well at the box office, so Disney, of course, was like, well, because that did super well, let's keep the same art style, but make them a bit more expressive, because that was a big critique of the 2019 Lion King movie, was these are just lifeless animals just reading lines or whatever. And so they did fix that. But then, Mufasa made what, $500 million at the box office? No slouch. but also not near as good as the 2019 Lion King movie. And so they might be seeing that as like, I don't know. Especially with Snow White coming directly after it, they said that they were going to put a pause on their live action movies. And so I think that goes to show, of course, it was in response to Snow White, but I think it also shows that they saw Mufasa as not a flop, but not quite what they expected. And that's partially because it's, you should have gone back to your 2D animated roots or do something else, something like animated, not this CG live action monstrosity. I thought Mufasa looked okay. I thought it was okay, but it just didn't have that magic. It just did feel bland at times. I think Barry Jenkins did what was it? Barry Jenkins? I believe so. I might be getting his name mixed up with somebody else, but he did the director. He did a great job with what he was given. He truly did. And a lot of people are like, he's amazing. Why would he do this? Why would he do the Mufasa movie? But it did have potential, and I did think I thought it was pretty good. Some people thought it was just okay. Some people thought it was terrible and awful, but I think that's just their blind hatred towards the Disney live actions. I think that's what was coming out. In my opinion, people are allowed to have their own opinions, okay? But it just seemed like there was a lot of blind hate towards Mufasa just because it was a Disney live action. And so, do I want to see a Simba's Pride live action remake? Sure. I mean, anything Lion King at this point. Sure, let's have anything Lion King. But of course, we want it to be animated Disney. But the fact that Disney hasn't announced that yet, officially announced it, I suppose, just goes to show that maybe Mufasa didn't perform as well. I feel like I did see somewhere that there was going to be that they've been working on like a very, very rough script for a sequel to Mufasa. And would it be a sequel to Mufasa in that would it follow the same format where it would follow young Kiara, maybe a little bit older, and it would be navigating like her and Kion's like brother-sister relationship, but it would also have a counterpart where, like, let me tell you a story. You know how Scar he was much more, I talked about this in another video, but the Mufasa Scar, he just didn't seem as evil, right? We don't see the transition fully, in my opinion, from of course being this brother to Mufasa and just insecure to flat out like, I'm gonna banish every part of my soul into the abyss so I can kill my brother and so I can rule the Pride Lands. I don't think we saw that, and somebody in my comments was like, as silly as a sequel to the prequel of the remake of The Lion King sounds, it would make sense and it would kind of tie in perfectly with the brother killing Scar that we see in The Lion King. And I think that's truly that's what I think they might do. And of course, like I said, it would kind of originally follow like Kiara's perspective and having a new brother. We don't know if that brother's name is Kion. I'm assuming they would call him Kion. I'm assuming that, but who knows, they might call him something else. Reaffirming that the live action and 2D animated Lion Kings are completely separate canons. And so when we talk about the LKCU, which I will get into that, I promise, that's something that we'll definitely keep in mind there. But yeah, I think that'd be really cool to see. Let me know your thoughts on this in the comments if you would like to see a sequel to Mufasa. And that's kind of what they painted it as, so that's kind of how I would see it, as a time in between the events of Mufasa, when he just gets to the, at the end of Mufasa, when he just gets to the Pride Lands, Malele, to the point of, Mufasa's pretty old, Scar's pretty old, when Simba is the main character in the Lion King 2019 version, mind you. So I feel like there could be a story there. Now, would it be kind of leaving not enough room for interpretation there? Do they really need to do that? Is it just kind of really rehashing the same story? I don't think it would do as well, maybe, unless they made it animated. But then they would have to. But then they've kind of they would have to double down on the live action style, because they did it with Mufasa. But I would say it's there's no. I just really want 2D animated Lion King to come back. Like, please, Disney. But of course, there is a possibility that they could just make Simba's Pride into just remake that. There's also a pretty good possibility of that as well. Or a completely new story with Kiara. But the fact that her name is Kiara and all that. But they do have Kion. And so would it follow very closely with the 2D animated timeline? And would it kind of connect them, maybe, possibly? I don't know. There's a possibility of that, where it could just ruin my videos that I've been creating of the different timelines. And it would be like, you know what? Kion in, the kind that we saw at the end of Mufasa, he grows up and he does have the roar over the elders. It's like, oh my word. Like, come on, guys. But yeah, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. With that, but the LKCU. Now, the Lion King timeline is a mess, as I've discussed before, and of course, The Lion King just got a whole lot more complicated video. I recommend you go watch that. It's a good introduction into what we're about to talk about, which was basically what everybody thought was basically the story of The Lion King was. It was the Lion King base movies, the 2019 and 1994 film, and then it goes to Simba's Pride, and then The Lion Guard takes place a little bit. It largely takes place after Simba's Pride. Of course, the last episode of the last season of The Lion Guard takes place after Simba's Pride, and so let's just for simplicity's sake, place it after Simba's Pride, even though it kind of takes place during Simba's Pride or whatever. And then Mufasa, of course, takes place. Mufasa's his origin story takes place before The Lion King 2019 and 1994, and of course, The Lion King 1.5 was just a retelling of The Lion King. That's what people thought. That was the timeline that everybody was just kind of assuming, and a lot of articles talked about. But now what the timeline is completely separate. And so basically the live action timeline is Mufasa and The Lion King 2019, and then who knows what will come with possibly a sequel to Mufasa. Possibly. It was just like a rumor that I saw, so take it with a grain of salt, people. And then the 2D animated timeline is, of course, anything that's kind of 2D style animated, because The Lion Guard, that's not 2D animated. That's just kind of in the style, right? And so when we talk about the LKCU, we kind of talk about everything as like a lump, right? That's just kind of a lump for everything Lion King. And then there's the timelines. There's multiple timelines. And then let's talk about another thing that I didn't talk about in my video, which I want to talk about in a whole separate video, because I want to organize my thoughts a bit more. This is just more of my unfiltered thoughts, just like kind of word vomiting it all out for you guys. But another thing that, I talked about was the comic, wow, I'm going to restart that. Wow, I can't speak. A, the comics, and B, the books. So the books would include, of course, the Lion King 6 New Adventures. That's basically what we're talking about with the books. I don't think there's really any others. I'd have to do a little bit more research. I think that's basically it. And then there's the comics, which I know for sure I just got the Disney Villains Scar comics, which they talk about kind of Rafiki knowing magic, and Mufasa kind of also knowing magic. Of course, that's kind of assuming that Rafiki taught Mufasa magic, and Scar is kind of confronting him. It's really interesting. I want to do a whole different video on it, and I don't know if I'm going to do a short or a members exclusive video going through the comics. I might have it be a short and then a longer video that will be a members exclusive video. So if you want to become a member for just what is it, $5 a month, you can get early access to my videos and exclusive videos. I'm working on exclusive videos, by the way, so I'd definitely recommend that also. So you'd get early access to these podcast episodes, and you'd also get early access to my other videos, and or for just 99 cents a month, if you want to just support me and have a nice little badge next to your name. There's also that, but I don't want to, pressure you guys. It's completely up to you. It's your money, especially in today's economy. I completely understand. So yeah, I got the comics. I'm missing one of the comics though, and then the eBay seller, he sent me the wrong cover for two of them. So yeah, I don't know when I'm gonna get. I think it's the second one that I'm missing, I believe. I think it's only the second one that I'm missing. I've got 1, 3, and 4. Yeah, so there's 4 comics of the Disney villain Scar. So there's those, and then I believe there might be some other Lion King comics. And so, in my opinion, there's several timelines here. They all basically follow the same structure of the Lion King, which of course is the story, which is kind of inspired by Hamlet. So there's the Lion King 1994, which branches off into the 2D animated timeline, and then the Lion King 1.5, which kind of branches off into the Timon and Pumbaa show, and then there's the Lion King 2019. So there's the base Lion King, the base story with the base characters that everybody knows and loves, but there are different characters. Like in the Lion King 2019, Shenzi, Bonsai, and Ed are different characters. Or wait, Shenzi's the same. It's Bonsai and Ed that are different in the 2019 film. So there are slightly different characters, but the basic same: Scar, Mufasa, Simba, right? Those ones. And then there are different characters, right? Like, I highly doubt, like, the Lion Guard characters are gonna come into play in the live-action timeline, even if they do somehow link Kion and maybe the Roar of the Elders in, if they do make another movie for the live-action timeline. So, who knows with that. And then, of course, with the books, they also are based off the same... the base same premise of The Lion King, except it's in book form, right? And then that's when Copa comes into play. But some people theorize with Copa, and of course with the Lion King 1994, and there's a mystery cub at the end that is clearly not Kiara, but I don't know. There's lots of theories there, lots of theories that I plan on getting into on a separate video, because otherwise this podcast would be just way too long. And then of course there's the comics, which I would argue that are also separate, because they discuss at least with these Scar ones, they discuss like Rafiki knowing magic, but there are possibilities that the comics and the books could connect into the 2D animated timeline, which I'll discuss in a different video. But yeah, I believe that's basically it. There's also, the video games, but the video games are so, they're so vastly different, and yet they follow the exact same story. They have to follow the exact same story of The Lion King 1994. That's what they were based off of. And then, of course, if you want to go really, really deep into things, there's also the House of Mouse, Simba and Timon and Pumbaa and Nala. and Scar do make an appearance there, which I would argue is a part of the Lion King 1.5 timeline, where Timon and Pumbaa's shenanigans are kind of, well, there's humans there clearly, but of course in the live action timeline with Mufasa, they travel everywhere. There's no signs of humans whatsoever. And of course with Kion in the 2D animated timeline going off in search of the Tree of Life, there are no humans whatsoever there. So there are no humans with the original 2D animated timeline, and then with the live action timeline. And so with Timon and Pumbaa's shenanigans, there's humans, and so if there's any humans, basically we'll just put it in with the Timon and Pumbaa's timeline, which is basically just, it's their, we'll just call it their own. Fun fact, getting a little bit sidetracked, but we'll get back on the track. Timon and Pumbaa were not originally in The Lion King. The two actors, they auditioned for the roles of hyenas, and the dynamic between those two was so good that they wrote whole new characters for those two, Timon and Pumbaa. And so originally The Lion King was going to be much darker, with because I wasn't going to have Timon and Pumbaa. It wasn't going to be super fun and lighthearted, and like just imagine that Simba going off into the wilderness without Timon and Pumbaa to make the movie more lighthearted. I don't think The Lion King would have done as well, frankly. So yeah, sidetracked a little bit, but yeah, so we've got the live action, we've got the 2D animated, we've got Timon and Pumbaa, and we've got the books, and we've got the comics. So we've got all of that covered, and all of that is lumped under the umbrella of the LKCU. Wait, no, that's not okay. Let's backtrack a little bit. What does LKCU stand for? I almost just tripped myself up with this. All right, you heard me. The LKCU stands for the Lion King Cinematic Universe. And so if we want to remove the C, which we might as well, since there's two other stuff that we could, well, no, we'll keep it just for, the MCU like type thing sake. But the LKCU, that lumps together the live action timeline, the Timon and Pumbaa timeline, and of course the 2D animated timeline. There you go. There's your cinematic universe. And then there's the LKBU. I don't know if that's book lovers out there. Am I completely off the mark with book universe? Like, is that not used with books or whatever? Or we could call it the LKW. WU. Yeah, the LKWU. The Lion King written universe. Or drawn universe. I think I like the written universe. LKWU. That kind of sounds fun. It's a little bit of a mouthful, but I kind of like that. The LKWU. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts. Should it be the LKWU, the LKBU? I mean, there's comics, right? So I need to lump both. We need to lump both of those, the comics and the books, which are separate from the cinematic universe. And then, of course, if we want to lump all that under the biggest umbrella ever, there's the LKU, the Lion King universe, which is all of it. But yeah, I truly do believe that the books and the comics are separate universes from each other, as well as the cinematic universe, because they truly do just differ in not only the vibe, but also like the characters, and of course just kind of what goes on in them, and kind of the magic system. Like, I don't know if I have mentioned this before, but like the magic system in The Lion King is kind of the roar of the elders, right? That's kind of their spiritual magic system in The Lion King. And it's kind of like that for the 2D animated timeline. But as far as we know, it's not really in any other timelines, because we don't really see it in Mufasa. and we don't really see it in The Lion King 2019. There are arguments that could be made that, you know, we don't really see it in either of those, but who knows? Who knows? And all of it, right? It's just a theory, right? A Lion King theory. But yeah, it's really interesting to think about the written universe. I really do like that, the Lion King written universe. Or should we call it? Yeah, I don't know. I do like the written universe. I do like that. Once again, let me know your thoughts on that in the comments. And of course, let me know your thoughts on the cinematic universe as well in the comics. Not the comics, the comments. Wow. I think it's about time to end this episode because I'm just slurring and messing up my words. But yeah, be sure to like this video if you enjoyed it, because it will help the YouTube algorithm do its thing and all of that. And yeah, be sure to subscribe and check out my playlist of the other morning reports. Thank you for joining me, my friends, and be sure to stay tuned on Monday. I've got a really good video planned on Monday, really good one. And of course, next week, my special guest. And you know what, since you made it all the way to the end, I'll say it. We're going to be talking about the live action Lion King and the live action How to Train Your Dragon. And we're going to be talking about both those and the universes with both of those. And so if you want to continue to hear and chat about the Lion King universe and other universes, then definitely come back next week for next week's video with, you know, once again, a special guest. I won't reveal who. I won't. And I will reveal it in a members post in a couple days. So once again, my memberships are there. You don't have to, but yeah. Yeah, be sure to subscribe, all that. I already said it. But thank you for joining me, ladies and gentlemen. I will see you in the next morning report. Thank you for watching or listening.